This is From Justin to Kane, a podcast where Mike Robertson and Bob LaRue watch one critically acclaimed film and one terrible film and talk about how they are the same.
It's been a while.
This is number 7.
No, it's 8.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we chose 8.5.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, what other film do we choose, Mike?
Jaws 3D.
Mm-hmm.
Jaws 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did not watch it in 3D, try as I might.
Neither did I.
I put on the blue and red glasses and it just looked really funny, but it wasn't, nothing popped out at me.
Yeah, although they tried. There's a few scenes where it's pretty obvious that it's a 3D scene.
Oh, wow, yes.
And it's lackluster.
Oh, so lackluster.
A whole jawbone comes towards your face.
Yeah.
A shark's jawbone. So the 2 films we did were 8.5 and Jaws 3D.
That's
Can you
right.
guess which one was the heralded classic and which one was the dismal box office disaster?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm asking the audience, all of our viewers, listeners.
Okay, we'll wait. That's correct. You guessed right.
Hey, nice.
It was 8.5. Also, is your microphone backwards?
No, I don't think so. Oh, shit. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
Maybe we should start over.
Yeah, let's start over. Good catch. Fuck.
I was like, you sound like you're... I can hear myself when you... Yeah, in your microphone.
Yeah.
That sounds better.
That sounds way better. Oh, my God.
Well, we lost all that great bit.
Yeah, that's okay. It's disposable because we made it up.
That's right.
Anyways. Wow, great catch. I totally put it in forwards, too. How embarrassing.
Bob had his microphone in backwards.
I'm dumb.
Wow. This is the kind of loosey-goosey, kind of fun energy, mistakes, whatever. That's the kind of energy people listen to this for.
That's true. You know what I realized? Our format is similar to that of My Favorite Murder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's 2 people who host a show. They just talk at length. They do a lot of research, but a lot of inaccuracies. Like they never get the names of things correct. They never, like their geography is always out of the window. There's always like details that are really fuzzy, but the show is very captivating. I'm not saying we're captivating, but I'm saying format wise, it's similar and it does work. So
here's the thought.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to a podcast earlier today on the way over.
Which one? Can we even say?
I won't say.
Good. Okay.
Just because I'm going to throw some shade.
Ooh.
Some pod beef.
Okay, cool.
This segment is called Pod Beef, where we just beef with another podcast. Anyway, one of my pet peeves about podcasts, which keeps me from really getting engaged with the forum, is the constant chuckling that happens in them.
Oh, yeah.
Just like people laugh way too hard at things that aren't really that funny.
Yeah.
Generally. And this happens a lot in podcasts I would listen to because I'm a fan of comedy and I kind of gravitate towards just movie or comedy podcasts. I don't know, just a thought. If you're the type of person who has, when somebody tells a joke and you laugh way too hard that it makes you have a coughing fit, like almost every time you laugh at some like dumb riff that somebody else on the podcast did, maybe you shouldn't be podcasting.
Yeah, you're in the wrong job.
You're in the wrong job.
You have a coughing fit after every
Have you ever heard a podcast where that happens? I've heard several.
No.
Where someone is just laughing too hard at their friends like riffing.
Yeah. I've heard laughing it sounds so earnest it sounds fake.
Yes.
The person clearly is falling over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many times where people just talking over each other and just screaming at each other because they're laughing so hard.
Yeah.
I get that this is funny, but it's not hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
totally.
That's some pod beef.
Interesting. I think that's a great note and a great observation. And
Also,
something we should be wary of.
Yeah. Also, we don't want to be on the other end of a pod beef.
No. God, I hope nobody shit talks this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll find out, won't we?
Well, sometimes I read people talking about podcasts and they're just like, it's just another couple of white guys talking about movies podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, going to Bob's to record a podcast, which is that's the exact description.
Yeah. That's very, very funny.
That's the challenge, though.
It is, yeah. And I think that's also a good note to be aware of, like, the trends and whether or not they're good or bad, and then either being a part of it but changing it and making it better, or trying to be the contrary to what's already happening.
So are we changing the format?
No.
Sound off in the comments below.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. I said no, but that's my opinion. What's yours?
Yeah, what's yours?
Yeah. Should we get into this epi?
Yeah, sure. Let's get into the epi. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Epi.
So yes, as you know, we're taking two movies. One that's super popular. No, wait, that's not it.
Not necessarily popular, but heralded critically as a good film.
Yes.
As a quote unquote quality art piece.
And the other one is cinematic doo-doo.
Yes. Yeah.
So we did 8.5 by Frederico Fellini.
Yeah.
And
Federico Fellini.
Federico.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And Jaws 3D directed by Joe Alves. Or Joe Alves.
So. Yeah, something like that.
Or halves. Like rhymes with halves.
Yeah.
Like half, plural. Also, if you have two halves, is that not just one thing?
It is one thing. Yeah, that's the basic fraction. Two halves make a whole.
Touche.
Yes. You're welcome.
Okay. Wow. Tell me about 8.5.
Okay.
A cinematic classic.
8.5 is the 8.5th film made by Federico Fellini. So this was a meta title he threw in, expecting to change it at a later time, because it's pretty masturbatory and self-aware to have a title of your movie be the like the order of films that you've made. Because he made 6 features and then 2 shorts, and then he did one film where there were 2 directors. He was one of them, so he considers that half a movie. So yeah, this is his 8th movie, I guess, 9th movie. And
wait, he made a Grindhouse movie.
What?
You know, like Grindhouse is Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah,
it's like they both directed that movie, Grindhouse.
Oh yeah, right.
Anyway,
I didn't love that movie. Anyways, did you like that movie?
I liked. No.
All right.
Maybe. I liked Robert Rodriguez's when I saw it, and I really didn't like Quentin Tarantino's.
Right.
But now my opinion is flipped.
Fair enough.
I flipped? Yeah. I actually would never watch Planet Terror again, but I would put on the other one, whatever that one was called, the car one.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. What is that one called? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Anyways.
Nobody will know.
Yeah, so he pulled a Grindhouse. He did a split feature. So yeah, 8.5 is the film. It was released in 1963. It won 2 Oscars, one for best costume design, black and white, and also best foreign film. Fellini was nominated for best director. He did not win.
Boo.
I have a funny anecdote. So this film, he made this film. He signed a contract supposedly and didn't have a concept for a movie. So what happens to Guido, the protagonist in this film, was almost what happened to Federico Fellini. And then right before the picture was to start, he had to basically just explain to a large number of people all at once what the movie was about. And he realized in that moment that this was going to be what the film was about, what he was going through in that moment, which was hesitation, artistic insecurity, sort of writer's block and creative block.
It must be nice.
Yeah.
It must be nice to just be like, hey, you can make any movie. And he's just like, yeah, I'll just kind of fart it out at the last minute.
But it's funny. This is arguably one of his best films.
I would say of all the ones I've seen, it's his best movie.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them, and some of them are unwatchable to me, if I'm being honest.
Which one are we talking about?
Like Satyricon?
Okay.
I couldn't watch it.
Did you see Roma?
No. Is it good?
I don't know. I saw it when I was much younger.
Amarcord is really good, and La Dolce Vita I really like. But his early stuff, Satyricon, I think was in the 50s, and I could not watch it.
What about La Strada? You ever see that one?
No, I haven't seen it. Is it good?
I thought so.
Okay.
Dude loves his carnivals.
He does.
Yeah.
He loves carnivals and dancing.
Yes.
like ballet specifically, which is cool. Anyway, so yeah, he ended up making this movie and he basically improvised the whole thing. And they could do that because they shot the film silently, as was the norm in the 60s and earlier in Italian filmmaking. So they shot it silently, and then while directing, he would like yell at the actors to do certain things and perform certain ways. So it's a lot like, in the old days when they were shooting silent films, and they would sort of direct while the camera was rolling. And then they dubbed it also. That's why the mouth never syncs up with the dialogue, because either the line was totally different or they just couldn't sync it. It would take too long, because the movie's really long. It's over 2 hours.
It is. Yeah, it was like, it was
two and a half, something like that. So it's pretty lengthy. But yeah, he and the protagonists, like Federico Fellini and Guido, basically went through the same thing emotionally, and that they had a bunch of pressure. They had no idea what to do. They ended up blowing it off for as long as they could, and then Guido fails, but Federico Fellini succeeds. So don't we all succeed?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I guess we all do. Yeah. As viewers.
Yeah.
Kind of like Adaptation. You ever see Adaptation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It is. Yeah, it's similar.
It's like, I don't got an idea. I'll make this movie about me not having an idea.
Yeah.
The end. That's the end. That's all the movie is, everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the synopsis. He's just like, I don't got an idea. The end.
Great movie, though. Really, really good.
Throughout the film, Guido's just like, how do I make this movie? Except he says it in Italian.
Yeah.
And in the musical 9, which I'm sure you will mention,
Yes,
is based on this film. I think there's literally a song called "How Do I Make This Movie?"
Really?
And I think he says that in the movie.
Oh, that's funny.
In 8.5 too.
Yeah,
at one point.
I believe he does. Something like in the same vein.
Yeah, but when he asked that, I was just like, Guido, just phone it in. Don't try so hard.
Yeah.
You're not feeling it? Just phone it in. You're not the only person who is just given movies to make, and people are just handing him money for some reason.
Yeah.
And he gets to just film with whatever actress he wants. Just phone it in, man. Just
Totally.
The next one will be good.
Yeah, 100%. I like your instincts, Mike.
But you got that 1960s Italian director privilege, man. Just got to use it while you can.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while he was making it, he put like a note over the eyepiece of the camera that said, "Remember, this is a comedy," because he was like so flustered apparently, and he was improvising most of the time. So he had that just to like ground him, so he knew tonally what the film was all about. A strike at Cinecittà, the lab that they had, meant that he couldn't watch dailies until the film was like finished.
Oh wow!
So he didn't start watching the film until he was editing it. Because there's no way to get dailies. All of it just like, I guess the negative just sat undeveloped for the majority of the production, which is pretty crazy. And then yes, 9 is based off of 8.5, and it's a musical. And then did very well in the 80s when it came out, and then it was revived in like 2003. Daniel Day-Lewis is in the film version. It's very popular, very good.
The broadcast recording, or the Broadway recording, there's a cast recording of it.
Yeah.
It has Jonathan Pryce from Brazil.
Oh, cool.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Sweet.
That's the one that I heard when I was younger.
Oh, cool.
As an 8.5 fan, I was like, they made a musical of this? And I got it out of the library.
Nice.
Very good.
I just got a library card. It really changed my life, if I'm being honest.
You can get the DVD of 9, not the Blu-ray,
Yeah.
the movie, and you can get the CD of the Broadway cast recording or whatever.
Yeah.
So for all you people out there listening, go to the library and get it.
Yeah, it's great.
Give it a listen. Give it a watch. You can get 8.5 too.
Yeah, you can. Or you can watch it online.
Or you can watch it online.
Yes. The Beautiful Confusion was a potential name because the character is confused and Federico Fellini was confused. So that was suggested, but it was never taken.
Yes.
And 2 endings were shot for this film. So
I heard, yeah.
there was the one we see in which they all dance and the press is there, and he ends up directing, which is the uplifting version. The pessimistic ending was he got on a train with his wife after failing. And then as he's going through a tunnel, just before going through a tunnel, apparently all the major characters from the film and in his life appear in the window,
Right.
and look down and smile at him. And then an author, a writer, said that was too close to the metaphor of like suicide and of death was too dark, and the film should have an uplifting ending. And he's like, all right. So he just changed it.
Well, he shoots himself in the movie.
Yeah, he does.
Was that real?
Who knows?
Did everything that happened after, was this just in his dream, or whatever happens to your brain? Was it just his brain like decomposing, and then that's just what his brain made?
Maybe that you could I'm sure you could write a paper on that. I love the very like literal symbol of the head in the clouds at the beginning of the film when he is a kite and his head is literally in the clouds. I love that. Yeah. And then they pull him down to earth literally and he falls into the ocean.
Wow. I didn't even take the time to try and break that down.
Well, I've seen the film a few times, so I watched it last night.
Bragging.
Hey, I am a cinephile. Yeah, and so some of the metaphors are just like so on the nose, but I love it. I think it's beautiful. Also, the special effects in this film are better than in Jaws 3D for sure.
There was special effects in this film?
An 8.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the man's foot. Like when he's the kite, there's a camera looking down at the guys on the beach, and then they drop a doll from a helicopter into the ocean. Right. Like it all looks better than.
I was wondering how they did that,
and it looks way better than anything from
Jaws 3D.
Yeah, Jaws 3D. I keep forgetting the name. Anyways, so that's some info. That's the film. That's some history and a little bit of context, as well as a little synopsis of what happens in the film.
Great work. Great research.
Thank you. What about Jaws 3D, Mike?
Jaws 3D. Don't know if you know this, but it's a sequel to Jaws.
What?
Yes, but they made a movie in between, Jaws 2.
Right.
Or Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah, it's the same name. Oh, is Jaws the Revenge? There's 4 Jaws films. Michael Kane is in the 4th one.
Michael Kane.
Exactly.
But I don't actually know what the second one's called.
Yeah, I think it is Jaws 2, and then Jaws Revenge is the 4th one.
That makes sense, actually, yeah, because this movie came out during kind of like the height of 1980s blockbuster sequel overload kind of thing. Yeah, it would have been called Jaws 2, I think, just because people would have been like, I love sequels.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, this is the second one. I'll go see this. And then they go watch it and be like, this wasn't as good.
That's before they realized that sequels often are a letdown.
Yes. This movie is no different.
Yeah. They made a sequel of the sequel.
It was filmed in 3D. Oh, yeah. So this movie kind of came out during the sequel blockbuster heyday, but then also like the 3D comeback heyday, too. There's a bunch of like movies that came out in the early 80s that were both sequels to blockbuster films that were also 3D, and they were usually the third movie in the series. Like there was a There was a Friday the 13th movie.
That was 3D?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, wow.
So
one of the 10.
Oh, yes.
Cool.
Yes. It was made for, I think, $19 million, so it was a big budget film at the time.
Yeah.
Now that's a ludicrously small amount of money, even with inflation, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then it was still made almost $100 million.
What?
Yeah, this was a good idea. And also it used a inexpensive form of 3D technology, which made it so that you could still project in what was like an equivalent to like, 2 4K image, kind of like what we see in the movie theaters nowadays. Mm-hmm. But it was basically, instead of having 2 full movie cameras filming and 2 full movie projectors projecting the movie, like they did back in the 50s or 60s, they were able to use one with some new technology where it stacked the image on top of each other. I can't explain it without visuals.
but it's new.
Well, I mean, it was kind of like a new kind of thing at the time. And also they released the film, you could watch it in both... what's it called? Polarized glasses, like the ones we have nowadays.
Right.
Or with anaglyph, like the red and blue thing. I personally prefer the red and blue.
Do you?
I find that the 3D looks better.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe it's just the way my eyes work, but every time I watch a polarized movie, it's like I watch it for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I forget that I'm watching a 3D movie, and I'm just like, why is this movie so dark?
Right.
Whereas every time I watch a blue and red one, first of all, they're putting the effort in to make the 3D stuff pop out at you, which I love.
Oh, for sure.
I love it when something comes at you. Mad Max 3D, they throw like wheels and parts and stuff at you.
Yeah.
There's so many parts where they just throw stuff at you. It's like, good, thank you.
Yeah.
Jackass 3D, also another great movie we were discussing earlier.
Pre-pod. Pre-epi.
Yeah, it was... it was... yeah, that was a good 3D movie. Yeah. Because they had poo chunks coming at you. And that was very exciting.
Been there, done that.
Another thing is the director of the film. This is his only credit.
Really? Why? What? Did you learn anything about him?
No.
He made one film.
He made one movie. He was a production designer.
Oh.
He was a production designer and the writer of this film.
Right.
There's an interview where he rips this guy apart. He's just like, oh, he's a good production designer, but he's not a good director.
That's so funny.
I didn't think the movie was that poorly directed. In fact, I actually thought it was really poorly written.
I would argue the faults lie in the script, not in the direction or
There's
anything.
a few times where I was just like, wow, that director figured out how to get that shot in a real cool way.
Yeah.
To sell the 3D and then also make stuff kind of spooky and scary because it's kind of a horror movie still.
Yeah.
Also, the production company wanted it to be a sequel to the other Jaws movies in more ways than one. That being shark from the film is the shark from Jaws 2.
Right.
Whereas
was the shark killed in the second one?
She was electrocuted.
Okay. So, but they used the same prop.
I don't know. I didn't find that out.
Right. But so it's technically the same. You know what I mean? Like it's a canon shark.
Canon-wise, it's the same shark, supposedly.
Oh, okay.
Like if you can, it's just like a puppet, swimming around in the water. If your mind is going to be like, this is Barbara from Jaws 2, the shark's name is Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not actually a fact that I found out. I just made that one up. The two characters were named Brody in the film.
Yeah.
And those were relatives of the character Brody from Jaws 1. So they really tried to make people who are hardcore about Jaws, which I don't know if that was a thing people were hardcore about.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I was alive when this movie came out, but I was...
Yeah.
Or even, I definitely wasn't aware that Jaws or its sequels were around.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I didn't find out about the fourth one until like a year ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it was like an offhand comment in some video that I watched. And they're like, oh yeah, it's as bad as Jaws 4. And I was like, I didn't know that was a thing.
I kind of have a morbid curiosity about crappy sequels.
Same. It's a fun rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah, like I kind of want to watch some of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Are? You're a masochistic cinephile.
No.
Yeah.
That sounds almost like a bad thing to be.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Okay, yeah. Take it back.
One more thing. Leah Thompson, this is her first movie role.
Wow.
And she would later appear in the Back to the Future series, another movie series that was of the sequelized 80s. And in Back to the Future 2, they actually kind of make fun of Jaws and the many, many sequels.
Oh, yeah, they do. There's like a 3D Jaws, right?
Yeah, that kind of references Jaws 3.
Yeah.
So
that's really funny.
Kind of wild. Although that movie came out like 5 or 6 years after this film, so.
She did okay.
She was okay, yeah.
She did
good for you, first role.
Yeah, totally. But her career picked up. Like I guess the movie made $100 million, so it doesn't matter. It's interesting. I mean, okay, for the record, I suggested this movie, and Mike quickly said, I don't think it bombed, and I don't think it's critically panned either.
It didn't bomb.
It's just average.
No, it is critically panned.
Oh, is it? Okay, good. Because it made a lot of money.
I know Ebert hated it.
Oh, I trust his opinion.
I definitely trust his opinion, although half the time he's wrong.
What do you mean?
Oh, sometimes I'm just like, I don't agree with you, Ebert.
Right.
But you know that he's coming at it from like a smart place, at least. R.I.P.
He thinks critically for sure.
Yeah. He didn't like Ninja Turtles.
Oh.
But I did because I was 8. And he was an old man.
So he doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Wrong demo.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah. That's all I got for Jaws 3D. It was released in theaters as Jaws 3D, and then in the various formats that it came out with as Jaws 3. And they did screen it on television in 3D at one point.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why.
Or how.
Well, they just showed in the red and blue thing.
Oh, right.
So you just have to have access to those glasses.
Right. Interesting. I mean, you take those from the movie theater. I had those growing up.
I had a pair that I kept. I still have them, I think, from Spy Kids 3.
Yeah, me too.
Spy Kids 3D. Really?
Yeah, same film. That's the same film. That's the last film I saw that was red and blue.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and I kept those glasses because they looked cool.
It was a good 3D movie too.
Yeah, it was deliberately 3D. You could feel it in every decision they made.
Yeah, it was, and that was why.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm all about the gimmick. Don't try and if you're going to make a 3D movie and you're going to make me pay money to go see something, I have to pay an extra $4 to see this in 3D.
Yeah.
against my will because you're not screening in any other way, but I have to see this.
Yeah.
At least put the effort in to like have something come at me a few times.
Yeah. It's not like watching a courtroom drama in 3D. Like, you don't want to do that. But
No.
if there's space battles or whatever, or some sort of extravagant adventure, then it's like, this is 3D fodder for sure.
I can't even think of the last 3D film I saw that I thought was good. 3D.
Hugo. I think that's
Hugo.
the last one. I don't think they've made a good one.
No, Jackass 3D came out after Hugo. I think.
Oh, did it? Okay.
But
Fair enough. Touche.
that was the only other. So Scorsese or Steve-O. They're the only ones who've mastered the form.
Yeah. Should we do some similarities now?
Sure, yeah. That's what people listen to this.
That's why the people come to the screen, they look at a black screen, they listen to our voices, and they listen to these arbitrary combinations that we have, or similarities. Okay, so this one, fairly obvious. I'm sure all of the fans have already thought of this too. And honestly, I don't think this crossed our minds when we chose these, but a number is in both the titles.
No, yeah, we didn't think about that.
I didn't realize that till today.
A number and a line.
Yeah, that's true. There's a dash in 8.5 and then a dash in 3D. One's horizontal, one's diagonal. A slash.
Right. A slash.
Yeah.
A slash and a dash.
Yeah, so both movies have similar punctuation and numerals.
Since watching the films, I've actually made some 8.5 / Jaws 3D slash.
What?
You know what slash is?
No.
Oh, it's where people make it's like fanfic, but it's where characters from two different universes have sex.
That's funny. Yeah, you would know that, Mike. You would know that.
Sometimes I do the old slash and dash. You're just right, just like Captain Kirk, Captain Luke Skywalker, and then you just leave.
Yeah, you leave. You delete.
You
all
leave
your
the
hard
restaurant.
work. You leave the Starbucks, which Wi-Fi you are using for free. Yeah, I got another one. I'm feeling really hot and ready, so I'm going to lay another one down. Both movies start with a scene near the ocean.
That's right.
Or on the ocean.
I'll do it one more for you.
All right, let's go, baby.
Both films start by like kind of park areas near the ocean.
Yes. Both films have characters at the beginning of the film with a rope tethered to their body in some fashion.
That's right.
There's the skiers, and they're also high up in the air. There's the water skiers and a Guido with his head in the clouds.
Also, when Guido was like floating over the cars, it kind of reminded me of the people at the top of the pyramid.
Totally.
Just kind of just like going straight through the air.
Yeah.
So there's some visual similarities right off the top.
Yeah.
Which nobody has ever pointed out.
We're really making history.
Both also, while we're on the topic of the ocean is a big part of both films.
Yeah.
Both films feature at some point scaffolding, like a scaffolding structure near the ocean.
Yeah.
With flags and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Both films have very unique and odd font choice for their opening credits.
Yes.
8.5's font choice is like very fun, but it's not your like go-to. Like a lot of films now, the font choice they have for credits is almost identical, I would argue. I don't know what font that is, but there's a small list, and I feel like every movie subscribes to it. But both of these movies have wild opening credits.
It's either Verdana or Goody Old Style.
Yeah. Nice. I'm surprised you know those, like offhand, that you can name them.
Oh, yes.
I feel like everyone blanks after Helvetica and Times New Roman.
No, I could come up with a few more. Comic Sans. Century Gothic.
Yeah.
That's a good font.
Century Gothic is great. I love Baskerville.
Century Gothic is both the Weezer font and the font for the movie Stepmom.
Oh, nice. Sweet.
With Julia Roberts and the mom who was the stepmom. Susan Sarandon.
That's there we go.
The brain was slow.
Do you have another one?
Yes, both films thematically are about somebody wanting to shut something down, but the man is telling them to go forward.
That one is awesome. Nice.
Thank you.
That's fucking sweet, Mike.
The fact, I find that for this pod, for this apostrophe cast,
this epi,
these epis, it kind of works best when you find thematic links, because that's the most ludicrous idea, that two unrelated films that have absolutely nothing to do with each other would have the exact same theme.
Totally.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Although that's not really a theme in the sense.
Well, speaking of like thematic and more conceptual links, both films have couples discussing their relationships and the logistics of that relationship within the world of that movie.
That's right. And both couples are, one of them is visiting the other one at work.
Yeah. Totally.
And talking about their relationship in the context of that work.
Yeah.
So,
And
who'd have thought?
Who would have thought? But somehow these films are so different.
And yet the same.
Another theme. Obviously 8.5 is like a very sexual film. There's a lot of sexual energy. Guido is cheating on his wife and has multiple partners. A lot in the past, a lot in the present, presumably a lot in the future. Hard to tell because the movie jumps time and space in a major way. But the owner of SeaWorld also sort of behaves similar to Guido. Like in the beginning of the film, he's got binoculars and he's looking at the women riding the water skis, and he doesn't say anything or do anything explicitly, but there's a heavy sexual subtext of like him voyeuristically sort of like staring at them, and in a way he owns them. Yes. Because they're his staff, and Guido sort of owns the women that are in his world. And there's a scene literally where he's like whipping them into shape, because they're acting out. And I think, if we were to write some fanfic, there could be a scene similar to that with the owner of SeaWorld and his subordinates. So I just think like there's a very similar tone and approach to relationship between men and women and power.
Yes.
And it's not healthy in either of them.
Definitely not.
So, and I think, the shark is a metaphor for misogyny because it's a female shark. And then the patriarchy kills it. Because also, SeaWorld is not a good thing.
No, but at the time, we all thought it was.
Yeah. Also, the documentary about Jaws 3D, they're constantly restating how dangerous sharks are in real life, and they're not. Like, it's just so... The misinformation that they're trying to spread through the making of the film, they're almost advocating like, yeah, this film is so beneficial to humanity because it'll really illustrate how dangerous sharks are and how bad they are for humanity. And it's like, well, no, they're just doing their thing. Obviously, putting a grenade in its mouth and killing it is not good.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. But anyways, I digress. I got on a bit of a tangent there.
On the topic of whips.
Here we go.
Both films, there's somebody tames the beast, as it were, with like a rope.
Oh yeah,
like they shoot the shark to try and get it trapped in a cage with like that spear with the rope on it.
Yeah,
and also he's got a whip.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Nice, Mike.
Thank you. Both films have iconic theme music, I would say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Nina Rota is like a famous film composer who did a bunch of Fellini movies and other films after that. Including one or all of the Godfather. He did something for the Godfather films.
I'm not sure.
Was one of them. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't quote me on that, please. But and then Jaws. This one was not composed by John Williams, but they did use like elements of it.
Oh yeah, it's constantly sort of referencing the like dun 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 dun. Yeah.
And a lot of reviews. A lot of them were really bad reviews. But most people are just like, the score was pretty good.
Yeah, because it was just John Williams music.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, it was done by Alan Parker, who is not the Alan Parker who directed The Wall.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I totally
Although they were around at the same time.
Interesting. Yeah. It's weird there's no union issue there.
Well, yeah, and they're both British, too.
Yeah, that's problematic for sure. My mind immediately went to, Alan Parker, who directed Angel Heart?
Yeah.
No, different guy.
You picked two different Alan Parker films.
In my mind, that's his quintessential film, but I would argue The Wall, in retrospect, is more obvious.
When I was growing up and I was super into Pink Floyd, The Wall specifically, I watched The Wall, the movie, a lot of times, and I just had to convince myself that it was good, just because I liked the album so much.
Yeah, Angel Heart is great. I've never seen The Wall. Is it bad?
It's not bad, but it's not great.
Right. It was expensive, wasn't it?
It was expensive, and it was cool because of the animation and the way that they kind of dramatized a bunch of stuff from the album.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't know. It just really felt like there's like, let's just make a movie of this story, and it just really is not interesting.
Yeah, and it's hard to like translate and make it like work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also one of those things where it's just like, kind of like 8.5, actually, where a rock star who just can't get it together.
Right.
This is dramatically interesting.
What's the next one, Mike?
Early in the film, at the park by the water, in both of them, there's like a panning shot where it just pans across all of the people in the space. And it like pans, I think, from right to left.
Oh, yeah.
Then it kind of just settles on whoever the important character of the moment is.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the guy who owns SeaWorld. And then Guido in both films. And then also in both films, kind of around the same point percentage-wise of the film, there's a part where some gates burst open with like flags adorning it, and a big group of people just kind of parade through it.
That's good.
That was the people escaping SeaWorld because there's a shark.
And what was the scene in 8.5?
No, that was them entering the park, actually.
Right. And then which scene was it in 8.5?
When they're right before they start dancing. Yeah.
Right,
all of his friends and family and from his life come through the gate.
They come down the stairs.
Yeah.
From the launch pad. Yeah. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Both of these films are like, I could argue, sci-fi films on a certain level. Because of science fiction-y tropes. So 8.5 has a large spaceship that is always talked about, referred to, and being built during the film. And Jaws has a giant shark that attacks people and is very aggressive.
Yeah.
And cranky.
So cranky.
Yeah, they both have like large things that sort of like hang over the film and weigh down on the characters in the film. Like Guido's weighed down by the rocket ship, and Dennis Quaid and his partner are both weighed down by the shark, and then they ultimately have to kill it. And in a way, Guido kills the rocket ship too, which is another similarity, because he tells them to tear it all down. He's like, "I'm not doing the film." And all the construction guys are like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, start tearing it down." So they start tearing apart the scaffolding and stuff. So both the films sort of destroy the large science fiction-y thing that inhabits the film. Another thing is both films have miniature versions of large things in the film. So there's the SeaWorld miniature that the owner is explaining. And then there's a matte painting that extends the rocket in 8.5. Yeah, that's my point. That's it.
There's so many matte paintings in Jaws 3D.
Like literal matte paintings.
Literal matte paintings.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many parts in it where I was just like, this is like 2001 level special effects.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah. But also 2001 came out like, 15 years prior to that kind of around. So it shouldn't be in Jaws 3D. And in fact, I think it makes the special effects look really bad.
Right.
To the point where, like, especially some of the 3D effects, like the dolphins jumping out of the water at the end.
Oh, yeah.
That was wild.
And also some of the fish, you can tell they optically printed into the water.
Yes.
And it's a different look.
And whenever people were in that tunnel too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was wild. Yeah.
Speaking of tunnel and being underwater, another similarity between these two films is the 8.5 is obviously filled and riddled with dream sequences and memories, and is very sort of like dreamlike and hallucinatory. And I found the underwater scene in which Dennis Quaid and his girlfriend go in the submarine and they go looking. That whole sequence is so surreal to me and so dreamlike that I would argue they both sort of have like in a way, a dream sequence.
Yeah, and that scene was very strange. The reason it feels surreal is because it kind of like breaks from the story of the film.
Yeah.
To just be like, okay, we're going into 3D mode. Put on your 3D glasses.
Yeah.
Glasses on. Oh, look at that fish. What? Look at that skull. Like the characters just narrating the things that they see and then the camera getting close to it.
Yeah.
Because it's all kind of first person perspective of just them seeing a thing and then that thing getting close enough for the 3D effect to like be cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, very boring in a non 3D version of the film. Yeah, I just got to say.
Arguably not effective. Not at all.
Not a fan of the 3D in the 2D version of the film. Got to say that. both films kind of take place in a carnival-esque scenario.
Totally.
Because
Well,
like
100%.
SeaWorld is kind of a carnival, but for abusing animals.
Yes.
It's like a zoo. To the point where the person who you're just like, this person cares about animals. She's like, you know what we should do? We should capture a shark and keep it in captivity. Because then we'll be the only ones.
I also like, she's like, I'm a scientist. Therefore, I know what's right.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the way they look at that the whole time. And I'm like, there's so many problematic attitudes in this movie. It's mind-boggling.
It's also wild that SeaWorld signed off on it.
Yeah, no kidding.
SeaWorld is kind of like problematic. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
But they were just like, okay, SeaWorld, we're going to make a movie set at SeaWorld. And it's going to be about a person who is like, let's take a shark and put it in captivity at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And everybody watching just knows as soon as that happens that that's not going to end well. By the way, this is happening at SeaWorld. You know, your livelihood. This is your company.
Yeah.
And SeaWorld is like, great, let's do it. You know, but it's just because it's like, well, this is a Jaws sequel. They were going to sign on regardless, probably.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people critiqued it for being way more violent than the other ones.
It is, I think. The second one has more violence for sure. The first one, none.
No.
Yet it is so gruesome.
Yeah. Also, I got to say, this movie did have one, for most of the movie, I was like, this is not scary. This is not a good Jaws film. Whereas the first Jaws film is like very tense.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is an excellent use of like building tension and creating like a sense of the horror of the shark.
Yeah.
This movie was, for the most part, I was just like, oh yeah, there's a shark in this movie. Whenever the shark appeared.
Yeah.
Except at the very end, when the sequence with the pyramids, like the human pyramid going around in the water.
Oh, yeah.
I actually thought that was a very effective scene.
It worked
It was
pretty
like
well.
very tense. I was kind of feeling it.
Cool. That's
So I was
great.
like, good for you, Jaws 3.
Nice.
You
John
made
Habs.
me feel something. Yeah. You made me feel something that Jaws 1 made me feel, which
Yeah.
was a little scared.
That's great.
But then
Jaws-
also, they're all fictional characters. I know it doesn't matter.
But it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Humans are funny that way. Both films sort of deal and take part with media, ego, and reputation. So
I was going to say that.
oh, interesting.
you go on.
Well, I'm sure this will end up being a collaborative point anyways. Both films have characters who are from another country who come in and are famous,
Yes.
but are disliked by the protagonist. So
Ooh, good.
there's the French actress in 8.5 who's constantly begging for information. She wants to know. Her agent is like, we're going to leave Guido if you don't give us more information on the role. She has offers in Germany and wherever else in Europe, and he's just like blowing her off because he doesn't care.
And also, the protagonist of Jaws 3D has an offer in Venezuela.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So that's just
Plus,
like a side connection.
The Australian like documentary filmmaker / animal extremist.
Yeah. He's like,
he-
let's blow it up.
Let's blow it up. But he's also like, he constantly wants to film it. And then his mustachioed henchman, who's a cinematographer, I
He
guess.
refers to himself as the help at one point.
That scene when he's climbing down the ladder because
Yeah.
he realizes he died and he's just screaming at the water.
Yeah.
That scene needed subtitles.
Yes.
I didn't know what he said. I knew he was upset and I wasn't totally like buying it.
He was the only one giving any emotional, like, anything
Performance.
to the movie. Yeah.
He gave it his like 100%, but it
Yeah.
was so out of place because his character was literally the least important.
Yes.
But his also, I found in a strange way, his relationship to the famous guy who's like a knockoff, who's that famous animal expert?
Jacques Cousteau.
No, the Australian guy who ended
Steve Irwin.
up. Yeah, Steve Irwin. He's a knockoff Steve Irwin. But I found their relationship, we learned more about them and how much they cared about each other than we did with Dennis Quaid and his partner.
Yes.
Because they always talk about it in such a like pragmatic, factual way. And I'm like, that's not how this works. Like,
Yeah.
your relationship might end, but they seem so cool about it.
Kind of like in From Justin to Kelly,
Yeah.
where you learn more about the side characters' relationships than you do
right.
about Justin or Kelly's
Right.
relationship.
You know, a movie that's all subplot,
Yeah.
that's an
And
issue.
that also takes place by the ocean.
Yes, it does.
In Florida.
Whoa.
Whoa. All of these movies are the
Aren't there
same movie.
dolphins in From Justin to
I bet you there are.
I think I remember dolphins in that movie.
We should change the cast from Justin to Kane to Jaws 3D. Should we?
No, we should. That's a great idea.
Maybe we'll change the title of the podcast every episode based on the.
That's funny.
If we can find connections to other films and thing.
I think. Oh, we could.
I bet you we could
constantly.
If we did one master cast where it's just like 5 hours long and we'd connect every single film.
I love that. Every movie I've watched, I've connected to other films that we've done in the past.
Yeah.
Sometimes with more ease.
It's a thing you can do.
Yeah.
One time, me and a bunch of pals that you know, but maybe not the listener. I don't know who listens to this. Every year we do a movie marathon at around Christmas time. And one time we did Jim Carrey movies. And we came up with this thing called the Carreyverse, which was basically we found so many links between all of the films that we were able to create the Carreyverse in our mind. That being that all films take place in the same like cinematic universe, kind of like Marvel, I guess.
Yeah, I love that.
It was great. What we're doing on this podcast is essentially just like exercising the same muscles that conspiracy theorists use. If you think about it.
When you put it like that, Mike, but it's far more innocuous.
Yes. No, definitely more banal.
Nice.
Banal.
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 There are scenes of leisure that then lead to like romantic relationships.
Ooh.
So Guido at the beginning of the film, he's like starting his day off and he's being badgered by producers and production people, and then he like goes to the bar at the end of the night and like sees that friend who can like who's working with the woman who reads minds, and then he ends up going to a hotel room with a mistress. And in Jaws 3D, there's a scene in the bar with Dennis Quaid, his girlfriend, and his younger brother. And then there's that woman playing that weird pushing game where you just push on each other and then you fall and you lose.
Yeah.
And then the little brother plays, and then he ends up sort of falling for this woman, and then they start a relationship.
Yeah.
And she later gets her leg bitten by a shark.
And then that's the last we see of her?
Yeah, they never bring her up again, or him.
Did they bring up the people trapped in that tunnel?
Nope.
Control your breathing. Okay. And then they just don't see them again.
They drop literally everything. Once they get the game plan to like blow the shark up with a grenade in the mouth or whatever, or trap it.
Yeah.
They drop every other part of the screenplay.
That's a bad thing when you're watching a movie. I'd like to see all of these different like threads resolved.
Yeah.
But also, most people, when they talk about why a movie is bad, one of the first things they'll say is they'll compare it to reality. They'll be like, oh, I just didn't think that was realistic, which is like, well, if you're watching a movie, the whole point is that you're not trying to engage with reality. You're trying to like engage with something that's not real.
Yeah.
Or to escape or whatever. But whenever someone doesn't like something, it's because they're just like, it's not realistic.
No, but what they're trying to say, there's a misconception that realism and compelling are the same thing.
The movie created a universe that had rules.
And then it broke its own rules.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand.
And
that's what they're saying.
Yeah, but they don't have the sort of cinematic literacy.
Yes, that we do.
Yeah.
But
that us smart white dudes who love movies do.
Doing a rare movies white guy podcast.
Yeah, we're the first.
We're the first.
But
as I was saying, there was... But if you take it, instead of the universe with created rules, if you don't take that road, but you take the road of actual just reality.
Yeah.
Jaws 3D is actually maybe a good film because of how it kind of adheres to reality, in that you're going out on a night out in the town or whatever, you encounter some friends, like you're at a bar, and then they get into a bar fight or whatever, and you're just like, I got to get out of here. And then you leave. That plot line doesn't get resolved.
No, it doesn't. Fascinating.
So maybe Jaws 3D isn't bad?
Maybe this podcast should just be us defending bad films.
No, that exists.
Oh, does it?
I can't name the podcast, but I bet you it exists.
Okay. Touche.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just like if you just type in movie podcast in a podcast thing, it is intimidating. Just the amount of white dudes, mostly with like goatees and beards, like a lot of facial hair and cartoon avatars. On their like images.
Yeah.
Just talking about movies.
Okay.
And a lot of the time it's just like, we watched these two bad movies and we talked about them. Are we starting a pod beef?
Yeah, we are.
With the entire
our
movie?
own kind.
Yeah, we're just starting a pod beef with literally everybody in the movie podcast universe.
Yeah, the sub genre of movie podcast.
Yeah.
But whatever. Life is for living.
Life's for living, man.
Start beef.
Yeah, you just gotta beef always.
Yeah.
Always beef.
Life is only interesting if you're beefing.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I got a great similarity.
What is it?
Both films feature executives pressuring somebody to make a film.
Oh, yeah.
Just literally 8.5. That's the whole movie.
Yeah.
But then the guy who owns SeaWorld is just like, hey, this guy wants to film us killing this shark. And then they're like, no, don't do it.
That's a good one, Mike.
That is a big part of both films.
Yeah.
It's kind of the only justification for that Australian guy being there.
Yeah. Steve Irwin.
And they say, no, we're going to capture this shark, put it in captivity, and then just leave it in a very shallow tank with a bunch of people just dangling their heads over the side.
Yeah. But then that shark died.
Yeah, that
for
shark.
some reason.
Just so that the mama shark could come.
Yeah, and get mad.
You thought that was the shark, but no, mama shark's
Just
coming.
kidding. It was 2 sharks the whole time.
There was 2
That's why they
sharks.
call it Jaws 2. Wait a minute.
What?
Just kidding. Where's the 3rd shark?
Also, both films there's like family connections in both movies.
Mm-hmm.
That being the Brody characters in this movie are related to the guy from Jaws 1.
Yeah.
And then the Guido is always fantasizing about all of the women in his life. I think you see his mother at some point, or someone who's a stand-in for his mother.
You do, yeah. Yeah. Well, his wife is his mother.
Yes.
In the one sequence with the whip.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Which is fascinating. There's a lot to read into that film about.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
But also,
So layered.
That movie's so fun because I guess I didn't really even know it was improvised, I guess it wasn't improvised, but there was a lot.
But it was pretty loose.
It was pretty loose. And that's what kind of makes it fun and exciting.
He literally told them to start building sets and he didn't know what they'd be for.
Yeah. You know another movie that they did that with?
What?
The Hobbit. That movie was also improvised in much the same way as 8.5.
Don't you mean movies?
Yes. Well, that's the problem also.
Thank God there's not 8.5, 9.5, and 10.5. I guess there's 8.5 and 9 though. Whatever.
Yeah. Should we just do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Both films kind of have like a meta cinema element to it. So aside from in Jaws 3D, the part where they were making a movie,
say what
they just wanted to film the shark blowing up. But in 8.5, there's a part where they're looking at a screen.
Oh yeah.
And there's many parts in Jaws 3D where they're looking through little windows, which in many ways are screens for the film of the ocean.
There's also
cinema of the ocean, which is a term I just made up.
Cinema of the ocean.
Which is when you look through a screen and you just see fish.
I'm going to jump on that. They have CCTV because there's an operator in Jaws 3D that's like looking for the shark, and then they're like, "Oh, I found it," and then it ends up just being a dolphin. Yeah. So yeah, both of the films deal with like watching media and it being under like high pressure situations.
When they look at the screen, they're both trying to find the thing that they're looking for.
Yeah.
In the one case, the shark, and the other one, the actress.
Well, it's looking for the like inspiration.
Yeah.
Like I think it's not about the screen tests in 8.5. It's about him. He's looking at himself when he sees all those screen tests, and he can't find. He's like just clutching at straws. He can't find what it is he's looking for. And
must be nice.
Yeah, just have so much money thrown at you.
Yeah, and just be like, I'm just farting this away. Yeah. I just don't know what to do.
All you have to do is nail it once or twice.
Yeah.
And then you're just good to go.
Phone it in. That's what I say. Also, something that I noticed in both films, and then maybe this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
But both movies, there's parts where fun, like people having fun, is represented just by young people running on a beach, like almost a little too fast. You know what I mean? It's like, when you're watching a movie and whenever someone eats a meal, they're always eating, but they're always talking at the same time. Yeah, because it's a movie and they can't just like eat a plate of pasta and then like keep talking. They have to be eating and talking just so the movie just keeps going. It's just one of those things that in movies just now, that's the language. You see young people running on a beach and it's just like, oh, they're having fun. This is fun. They're just having like the best time. Like nothing could possibly go wrong. Yeah. And that happened so much in the 80s, like 80s movies, because 80s movies, for whatever reason, there's a lot of people running on the beach.
Well, I feel like, there were all those cheap, like, Corman beach movies from the 60s, and there's a lot of that. A lot of like, zany dancing and stuff. And so the language, you can illustrate or establish the language that cinema will then use forever more, which is terrifying. Because sometimes it's bad stuff and it just is normalized. That's
what's so wild about movies. Cinema is like constantly reflecting itself now.
Yeah, totally.
It's like I've never been in like a hostage negotiation scenario.
But you know exactly what to do.
I know what it's like because I've seen enough movies. But then there's also people who are making movies about hostage negotiators. And they're just basing it entirely on movies that they've seen about hostage negotiators, So totally. It's just the snake eating its own tail and then regurgitating its own tail.
Totally. Yeah. Which makes you know how when you optically print something, it will degrade by generation. I feel like that's happening intellectually with film creation. These ideas, it's like you're just eating the barf of the last movie and then barfing that barf out. And it's a even reduced barf. Sorry, there's a barf trigger. My apologies. But it just keeps happening. And it just keeps degrading. And then that becomes your pool of resources. It's like these films.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't do that.
No.
That's crazy.
Have you ever sat down and tried to write a movie?
Yeah.
Have you ever, when they say write what you know?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to sit down and write something you didn't know?
No.
What? Really?
Yeah,
okay.
Never.
Okay, never mind.
No, I have, but not successfully.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe that's why you don't finish it.
Yeah.
But
I don't. That's a problem of mine.
I think the reason most people don't finish is because it's very hard to write a full script, just in general.
Especially like following through and doing drafts.
Yeah.
It's one thing to like bang out a quick copy and be like, boom, 90 pages, I don't care. But to actually like do it and then be like, okay, now I have to fix this hot mess.
Yeah.
It's crazy. That takes so much dedication and patience, which I don't have.
Well, I was getting at the idea that a lot of people don't write what they know.
Totally.
Because I'm going to write a movie about astronauts. I'm not going to do a heck of a lot of research on astronauts. Because I've seen enough astronaut movies that I can just kind of go through the motions.
And that's
true. To the point where we even film them the same.
That's a great point.
You know that if someone's walking towards the camera in slow motion and they're wearing like a astronaut outfit, they're about to go on the ship.
But then that's a great sketch. Taking film language and like the first shot is that film language, and then the next shot is like, oh, the astronaut's just getting into his like VW minivan and like driving away.
Yeah.
Like that's what he just wears to work, is he gets his briefcase and a spacesuit and drives to work.
Someone should make a very serious astronaut film. And every time that the character gets...
Didn't they? Isn't it First Man?
No, but I mean, no, okay. Someone should make a very serious astronaut film, but every time that person goes somewhere...
Yeah.
They film it the same way.
Right.
So you're always thinking they're going to get on the spaceship, and then they just like, they just get into a car.
Yeah.
Or they just open a door to the bank.
I like that.
Every time they're walking from place to place, they're always wearing their astronaut uniform, then holding their helmet off to the side, and the music's triumphant. They're walking in slow motion, and then it just cuts and it's like ding 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 ding. Next in line. It's like, I'd like to deposit this check.
Mike, take it to Telefilm.
This astronaut check.
Yeah, this astronaut check. Solid steel.
They go to the grocery store and they just buying dehydrated food, just staring at different packages and comparing like the ingredients on dehydrated food.
Here's the ultimate bit. When he finally does get on the jet, he's afraid of flying.
And then halfway through the movie, it cuts and it's you in a room with executives and they're critiquing your movie about astronauts.
Yeah.
And just like, you don't know anything about astronauts. And then the rest of the movie is about you not knowing how to make your movie.
Yeah.
Instead of Fellini's 8.5.
Whoa.
Bob's 8.5.
That like shitty comedy I was trying to make. They're like, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, you're right. And then I befriend a shark. And then the shark is like, hey, I'm a fledgling screenwriter. You want to read this screenplay? And I read the screenplay. And it is an exact reflection of my entire childhood. Whoa. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how did you know this? He's like, I didn't. It's what I know. And then he eats me. He just consumes me in one fell swoop.
But that'd be a good idea for a movie too. Maybe I'm very wrong when I say that, but
no, I like
just like
your
a
confidence.
person encountering a shark, and the shark is like a struggling screenwriter.
Yeah, I think that's funny.
That's funny. It's like you want to read my script, and it's just like your first problem is the script is soggy. And it's like, I'm a shark.
I love that. I love films where you take like one thing and just plop it in another context. We were talking about this. That's why puppets are cool.
That's why
animals are cool. Puppets are cool. Cars are cool.
Also, Sharknado is a thing. What if the tornado had sharks in it? That's like, okay, fine. It's a B movie. But what if you were an astronaut and you were in space and there was a shark? Like a space shark.
What if ground control...
Someone made that movie where it's just like a shark with an astronaut helmet to keep it so it can... But the astronaut helmet's filled with water because it's a shark.
Yeah.
Needs to breathe water, I guess.
Yeah.
Floating through space. And then people are still afraid of it, even though they're in a spaceship. But he still tries to get in. It's like,
oh, I love that. And then it's like, doom, 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 doom. And then the shark hits the International Space Station, and all the astronauts are terrified. But one of the astronauts is a Navy veteran from the Second World War. Another one is a jaded scientist who's a millionaire. And the other one is a family man, but kind of closed-minded and blue collar.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, cool.
But also when it's like dun 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 dun, it only makes that music sound when you're outside the spaceship. When it cuts to outside, it's just silence. And you can't even hear the sound of the shark flapping.
Yeah, but then you
flailing in the space.
You cut to the sound inside of the shark's helmet, and it's just wet sounds. Like a dog lapping up water.
and also just like, oh God. The shark just also chomping a lot.
I also like, it has a helmet on, but it still feels the need to chomp, even though the helmet goes around its mouth. So it's just butting its head into the spaceship.
I imagine all sharks are just constantly in chomp mode.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you ever see a movie with sharks in it, you just see the shark and it's just kind of just like waving its body back and forth because that's how it swims.
Yeah.
But then also they you just imagine
still.
them just chomping always.
They drown if they're still.
Is that why that shark died in Jaws 3D?
Yeah. So they like, I think the reason is they can't like suck the water into their gills. The motion has to do it. So they'll literally suffocate if they sit still. So when they sleep, they move. They like kind of go on a cruise control.
They're like,
and they just cruise around.
Sleep walking, but like sleep swimming.
Yeah, sleep swimming, but in space with a space helmet on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, back to this movie idea. The shark encounters the space station, and then they're just like, oh, no, the shark's coming to get us. But the shark's just swimming through space, and it's asleep. They don't even realize.
Oh, wow.
And then they're like,
and they're projecting their fear onto it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And the shark can smell fear, even though he's in space.
And
he has a helmet filled with water on. And then, in order to kill the shark, they take one of the Canada arm or whatever, and they make a giant bat, and they just hit the shark with it, and then they bat it into either the sun or the moon.
Right.
I think they hit the moon.
For sure, yeah.
Or no, they hit it into Saturn's rings, and then it just kind of rotates, like it orbits around Saturn
and it's constantly being like punched by
other rocks. Yeah. And it's like, well, that's the last we'll see of that shark.
But then you know how like dolphins when they're swimming and they'll like come up under the surface and then like dive back down. Mm-hmm. The shark does that, but with the asteroid belt surrounding the Saturn's rings, so it'll just like dive up and then dive back down, and it'll be really happy. Yeah. So emotionally, it's content because it's found its freedom. And then the humans are happy because they killed it. They overcame an arbitrary obstacle.
Yes.
Yeah. Then they cut to ground control, like the screen turns on and it's like, ground control, we killed the shark. And then the guy who's in charge of ground control is a shark wearing like a short sleeve dress shirt and a tie, and it's like the 60s. And he's like, what? You did what? We sent him up there to help you. And then the humans are like, oh my God, what happened? And then they look at the screen. And then everyone is sharks, and it's like a Planet of the Apes moment where they realize they've been off Earth for so long that the world is inhabited by humanoid sharks, but they don't have legs. They just like flop around.
Oh man, we gotta make this movie.
Yeah. So go to our Patreon link.
Go to our Patreon link. Donate $5 minimum.
Yeah, maximum $7.
Please go to our Patreon.
Yeah, you know where it is.
You know where it is. You know how to find it.
Yeah.
The link is posted below.
Yeah.
Or
black screen.
On the black screen, yeah.
Well, what are our takeaways from that film after that nice 15-minute detour we just took into our fanfic?
Oh yeah, our slash fic. Because also in this movie, somebody from 8.5 has sex with the shark in space.
Yeah, it's the woman who dances on the beach for the boys. She's actually the CEO of NASA.
Okay, can I talk about two things before we wrap up?
Yeah, totally. Go for it.
In 8.5, the scene with that woman who did the rumba on the beach.
Yeah,
what was that about?
I don't know.
It was Fellini was working through something on that with that scene.
That like boyish perverseness, because it's like, I think he's probably trying to explore how when you're a child, you're often told to be ashamed of or are just sort of immediately ashamed of any sexual feelings you have or fantasies you have. And so these boys like watching this woman dance on the beach is like for them obviously like a sexual awakening, and then they're immediately punished.
Yes. And
obviously that's not beneficial to anybody.
Was Fellini exploring his
shame?
Well, also the idea of woman, you know?
I think so.
What was her name again? Sarah Gina or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
She was kind of like, really just there to just dance for them. And she was like, oh, look at all these boys. I'm going to dance.
Yeah.
In like a real like aggressive way. And they're all just going to just like jump around like monkeys.
Yeah. She also
and then run on the beach because they're having fun.
Yeah. And she also wasn't like conventionally beautiful in the way that the other women in the film are.
Yeah.
She was more like the way the film depicts her as like a grotesque monster in a way.
Kind of,
she comes like out of a cave, literally. Like that bomb shelter on the beach is like a cave, and she's like a monster that they lure out with money.
That's right.
And then she dances.
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting how they portray her. I don't know what he's unpacking, but it's definitely something.
Yeah, because the whole movie seems to both be about his desire to make or not make a movie.
Yeah,
and then
he a kinky boy.
Yeah.
I want to be the first to say that's a horrifying sound.
All right, sorry. This podcast is just so funny, but I also have like a weird coughing fit every time I laugh really hard. Jesus Christ. But no, this movie is about him making a movie and also not making a movie. But then also, it's also just like about women, all the women from his life are in the movie.
Yeah.
And then there's also like the sexy one. And like he also has sex with women all the time who aren't his wife. But then his wife sometimes plays his mom. And then there's the sexy woman who dances for them. But then they're immediately punished by like a mother character. And she chases them along the beach and stuff. There's like a lot of just different angles.
Totally. It intertwines like sexual relationships and repercussions faced through religion.
Yeah.
So like,
right.
Like religious institutions sort of are constantly present, and they're always either punishing or not accepting. So like even when he goes and that like priest or what the cardinal is like he's like in his like short shorts, and he like gets out of one tub and just walks into another tub, and there's a bunch of steam, and he just like basically disregards Guido immediately. He's like, he doesn't give him the time of day.
Yeah.
And the one producer was like, oh, like if you get his approval, we can do anything.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get it because he never did.
Yes.
His character never did.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of older filmmakers really explore, I guess youth films and stuff are a normal thing, but because I'm watching 400 Blows right now, and that's like just about Francois Truffaut's childhood. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is very similar to 8.5.
Kind of.
In terms of approach to the past and punishment and institution. It's very interesting. But both Fellini and Truffaut were on the outskirts of society, I would argue, in terms of outlook and philosophy. They were like bad boys.
Like punk rock.
Yeah. Why did we do Jaws 3D? We should have done 400 Blows.
But it's not a bad movie.
Oh, isn't it?
That's the whole point.
It's black and white, though. I hate black and white movies.
I hate reading while I watch a movie. Okay, I want to talk about Jaws real quick.
Yeah, you go.
Them dolphins.
Yeah?
They had to do some stuff.
They were very talented.
They saved those people from the sharks.
They fought the shark.
They fought the shark, and then they were just like, damn it, we left we close the gate. The dolphins are out in the water or whatever.
Yeah.
Too bad. They'll fend for themselves.
And they did.
And they did. They edited the film very poorly, where it was very clear that the shark was never in the same place as the dolphins.
Yeah.
But then also, film language is constantly just like convincing you that what you're watching makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm always just like, oh, those dolphins are going to get caught by that shark.
You almost care for the dolphins more than any of the human characters.
Well, I was like, is the shark going to get the dolphins?
Yeah, I thought that too, and they just left them.
That's good.
The dolphins saved the protagonist's lives
So many times.
so many times, and like fought the shark, like jabbed it in the nose jabbed the shark with their nose,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
But then again, humans and dolphins sometimes have very intimate, close relationships.
Go on.
Sometimes too close.
How do you know this?
I don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
No, we have to. We've already talked about slash fic.
No, there are reported cases of humans and dolphins having sexual relationships.
Yes. Go on.
That's all I want to say about it.
I don't know why
You
I am so
sick
excited.
fuck.
I just
You're like, oh, what?
I know. I just know what you're talking about. I just want to hear you talk about it. I just want you to say it.
I once had a very
So I
lengthy,
see how much you know.
I once had a very lengthy conversation with an improviser from Israel about human dolphin relationships.
I thought you were going to say a local pervert.
No,
Okay.
a foreign one. Just kidding.
I mean,
they weren't a
now
pervert. They were equally as mystified as I was
Oh, okay.
by the whole practice.
That's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they say, but really they're big fans. Just like you freaky guy.
Yeah.
That's why you want me to talk about it on the pod, on the epi.
On the latest epi of the pod.
The sub epi is about human dolphin relationships. So we should dissect the film Jaws 3D and find all the sexual relationships or like moments of sexual tension between the dolphins and Dennis Quaid and his girlfriend. There's quite a few.
You think that there's a storyline that they cut out where they had sex with the dolphins?
Oh, for sure. Also, well, what do you think they did once the film ended? You know what I mean? They still had some time to kill before the sun went down.
I guess so, yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Those dolphins jumped out of the water pretty excitedly.
They
as
were
the sun
very
was setting.
excited.
Yeah.
They're like, nothing like banging in a large body of water with a dead shark floating in it.
Like that shot would probably have looked really cool in 3D if you had 3D glasses in to kind of just blur like the crappiness of it, how it looked.
It was still amazing that they got it.
Well, but it basically just looked like just the worst screensaver come to life kind of thing. Just like CGI
very
dolphins
funny.
spinning in the foreground as like a sunset.
Yeah.
It's like
I guess.
I would
you're
imagine
right.
it being like on one of those like puffy long sleeve sweatshirts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like a white sweatshirt with a really like neon colored sunset with dolphins
Totally.
hopping out of it.
Also, there's a scene where Dennis Quaid and his partner are like feeding the dolphins, and he blatantly just throws the fish over the dolphin's head, and then they just keep that take. He like misses the dolphin. The dolphin's obviously disappointed, like goes back in the water, and then they just like let the two characters keep talking. And I just thought that was so funny because it's so jarring. I'm sure nobody noticed it.
You
Because
did.
all our listeners, I mean, yeah, all our listeners watch these movies.
I mean, yeah.
I hope.
Just like you got a lot of homework this week.
You gotta watch 2 movies. One of
Totaling
them very long.
4 hours of cinema total.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of the pod.
Yeah.
But that's the end of the podcast.
The series is over. We'll hear you next time.
I've been Mike. I was going to
And
say Bob, but then I realized that I am not you.
What?
Huh?
I've been a shark the whole time.
I've been an astronaut shark.
Whoa. I'm jealous of you because I'm like a blue collar shark and you're like this, and we're brothers and you're like a big wig shark and you make more money and you have a family and I work in a steel mill.
I was like top 40 under 40 shark.
Really?
Yeah, the shark top 40 under 40.
Wow. I've never been nominated for that.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it helps to come from a rich family.
Yeah.
They can pay for you to go
I
through
came from a
astronaut
single
school.
parent home. It was just my mom and I, my mom shark and I.
You're like Bruce. You're like Bruce Sharkstein
Yeah, I am.
or Bruce Spring Shark. No, okay.
Sharkstein is better for sure. Bruce Sharkstein is much better.
Bruce
And I'm a
Spring Shark
hammerhead.
sounds like a shark with a spring on it.
Yeah, I'm a hammerhead and I got a sweet tattoo. The thing is, I'm hotter than you. My shark is hotter than your shark. And I use my hammerhead to like bang metal red hot metal.
Cool.
So I got like
blue
sweet,
collar.
Yeah, it's awesome. Not to fetishize it, but I make enough.
Make enough to get by.
Yeah, I get by.
Just enough to buy your girl nice things. Fix up your Shark motorcycle.
Totally. I only drink Coors Shark.
One of these days you're going to leave this town.
I hope so.
One of these days.
Well, one of these days I hope to be in the stratosphere like you.
But you can't.
But my hammerhead doesn't fit in the shuttle. That's why they denied me from Shark NASA.
Well, one day when the Shark Earth gets, when the sharks abuse climate change and whatever,
and they
have to move to Mars.
Yeah,
we'll bring your blue collar person to Mars just so you can build us a pod.
That's nice
that we can like live in.
Oh, I see. It's still classist.
It's we'll definitely still have classist society.
Oh, okay.
This is still a shark capitalism.
Yeah,
we're still living under. So of course we're just going to exploit the workers.
So are you Shark Elon Musk, and me a simple lay shark?
If you put it that way, then yes.
Wow.
So anyway, thanks for listening to the podcast. This has been Shark Elon Musk.
And this has been Bob. Okay, bye.